Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Sky's the Limit. I am your host Omer Khalid. But they say where there is a will, there is always a way. That is what our show is all about. Sky's the limit. Whenever you want to do something, you can achieve it despite the obstacles that come in your way. Our guest for this episode has come a far way from where she was from. Born in Okara, she was part of the transgender community, ostracized by her community, by her parents. She nevertheless fought against the system, against the society, and now is not only a transgender politician, but also a human rights activist. She has come a long way. She's been part of many different important organizations and has drafted policies for the government as well. Her name is Nayyab Ali, and she's our guest in this very interesting and informative episode of Sky's the Limit. Stay tuned to know more about the person behind the personality. Welcome back, and now we've been joined by the transgender politician and human rights defender Nayyab Ali. Nayyab, thank you very much to have joined us.
Thank you.
Nayyab, as is the format of our show, we try to understand the background of each and every one of our guests. Now, you were born in Okara.
Yeah.
You are the elder of 4 brothers. You have 3 younger brothers.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah, every transgender child, his childhood is very painful. It's common story of every transgender person in Pakistan. I was living with my family. When I realized myself that I'm transgender person, I was used to wear nail polish. I was used to wear ladies' clothes like that. I was used to walk and talk like female because I was feeling myself that I am a wrong person in a wrong body. So definitely my gesture posture told everything to others about my appearance, what I am. So that was the thing that my family feels bad, my society feels bad, my relatives feel bad. And as a normal child, I was also used to going to school and I was studying there. But the thing is, the difference between me and other child is that I was feeling something in my inside that there is something difference between me and others. So that's I live shortly with my parents, 13 years, you may say, when I realized, and my family, even my father used to beat me that please react like a proper boy, please act like a proper boy, live and wear and walk and talk, and that was not in my hands to talk like a proper male. So that was the issues between me and my parents.
How was the reaction between you and your brothers?
I'm elder actually. So in 13 years they also know what they are. And they have no influence in my family. So that was the basic thing, and they have no influence, they have no power to beat me, this kind of things. And they
but were the relationship between you and your younger brothers, was it a normal relationship?
Yeah, in children, they were used to live with me like normal brothers and sisters, because they ever don't know about themselves at that time. And they also studying in some schools and in some play group and KG class. One my younger brother was of 10-year-old, of 12-year-old, and one was of 8-year-old. So that was so how they can react.
How was the relationship with your mother while growing up? Because she must have understood that you were different from the rest.
Actually, the thing is that in our society, Pakistan society, and parents didn't know about transgender community. Actually, they mix up intersex and transgender community. I was biologically born as a male, and that is the reality of every transgender person, trans woman. So they also think that I'm acting like a woman, but actually I'm not. So that was their perception. So, but mother always have a soft corner for their children, whatever they are good, they are bad, they are disabled, and whatever they are. So my mother, with relation with my mother was very good, and she was very soft to me. She was very kind-hearted to me. Even she supported in my education till I was living with my family at that time. But she didn't supported me when my father kicked out me.
You were 13 years of age when your father kicked you out of the house.
I was a 13-year-old. I was studying in 8th class. So that was it.
So you left your house when you were around 13
Definitely,
years.
I have no any other option.
You started to live with your grandmother.
Yeah.
How would you describe your relationship with your grandmother?
My grandmother, she was also very kind-hearted. She supported my education till matriculation level. When she passed away, and after 10th, I was living individually in some hostel, and I did my FSC from Superior College
In Okada.
In Okada, because I was very good in studies and I want to be a doctor. But I got some scholarships for matriculation, and for after matriculation for Superior College, they covered my 2-year education free of cost. So, but I only lived 2 years with my grandmother, and in that she was very kind to me. Definitely, every grandmother and mother.
Once your grandmother passes away, you go and live in a hostel. Was it difficult for a person of your nature to live in a society that doesn't understand what the transgender community is all about, as a young transgender growing up, because you were very young?
It was very difficult me for leaving my house when my father kicked out me. When a child leave their house, they only have one option, that she or he used to live with society, and what society do with that child, you know very well. We have a lot of cases in our front, like Frishta and like Zainab case. So I also faced a lot of assault, a lot of physical abuse, and my relative and a lot member of society on which I can trust, they abused me. And that was same condition when I was living with hostel. I changed my hostel twice. So because the owner of that hostel was also want to have a sexual relation with me, and this is very common practice in South Asia, you may say. So that was very painful childhood.
All right. So it must have been, it must have taken a lot of strength of character for you to go through that time period and survive as a strong person, because it's not every day that you see people who survive, who become stronger with time. So you did your FSC from Okada, and then you go to the Punjab University and you do a BSc Honours in Botany from Punjab University. Why botany? You could have chosen any other subject.
No, actually I told you I want to be a doctor, and I studied FSC pre-medical from Superior College. So a medical student who didn't got admission in medical colleges, so what they have an option to study botany or zoology or DVM, like this kind of degrees you
or pharmacy maybe.
Yeah, D pharmacy you can say, but I have to complete my degree, so that's why I choose as subject in. I never have an interest in botany, and I didn't practice botany. But the thing is that if you survive in Pakistan, you have to complete a degree. And that's why I completed my degree in botany, but I have interest in development sector, like this kind of things, because I was very used to creativity and some creative writing, like this kind of thing. So like leadership skills, I was very good speaker, I was very good writer, so it's the degree doesn't match my field.
All right.
Always my didn't match my.
But despite that, you have a very strong character. I can see that, Nayyab. And to survive in a society and to try to be somebody in a society, in any society, being a transgender is not an easy task. And
Yeah.
I can see you sitting right in front of me, and a very strong individual and somebody who's gone through so much and still stands on her 2 feet and is a person who people look up to, is something that is quite admirable. Now, you became the national coordinator of the All Pakistan Transgender Election Network. That was in 2016, if I'm not wrong.
No, that was in 2017.
All right. Before that, there was one incident that happened to you. You were the victim of an acid attack in 2016.
Yes.
How did that change you as a person?
Actually, there is a universal thing when you get diseased. So you have some time for yourself. In in our common today days, you are busy and everyone is busy and have no time for himself actually, for herself actually. And that was 3 months. It was time to understand what I am and what I can do and what I can contribute for the betterment of society. And at that time period, I realized when I was on bed, and I was thinking that how much difficulties I faced, and these are same for my community. I was kicked out from my home, and my transgender fellows are also kicked out from their home. This is common practice. I love to get education, but these kind of opportunities have no in our society for transgender community. They can't get education. They have no acceptance. They have no inclusion. So these kind of things turned me that if I cured myself, if I survived myself, so I will definitely contribute something to change the world, to change the life of my community, and I will do something better to improve their life if I survive, and I will live my life for transgender community, because that I love my beauty actually. At that time I was used to dancing. Even I completed my degree, I don't want to job anywhere because the behavior of society, the stigma that they attach to me being a transgender person, the discriminatory behavior that I faced, I never ever want to do a job even after completing a degree, because when I go to school they start bullying. When I was studying in college, they start bullying. They never gave me a proper platform like other boys and males. When I was studying in university, I ever faced forced rape, sexual assault. So that filled hatred inside, and I never want to be a part of a normal society at that before acid attack. And but that 3 months actually, when I was on bed, that changed my whole life. So.
And you said you had to become not only a better individual, but also do something for your community.
Yeah.
All right. What did you become first? What did you enter first? Did you become an entrepreneur first, or did you enter the political arena first? What was the thing that attracted you first of all?
Actually, I came first as an activist,
All right.
as a human rights defender, as an educationist. Because I was studied, I was educated, so I know what is the importance of education for a common person, whatever you are, man, woman, or a transgender person. So I started project first, a transgender literacy program. I write a proposal to non-formal basic education department, Ministry of Literacy in Punjab.
That was in 2017.
Yeah, that was in 2017. So that was the thing. The project get approved, and I got funding from government. So I started first transgender school, which was only for transgender person and where only transgender person can study.
How many students did you have in that school?
Initially there was 30 students, and it was 1-year project, and unfortunately there is no school in for transgender community in Pakistan now. That was first and only. Now government tries to make some institutions, separate institutions, but now in society actually we want inclusion. So that's why we don't need any separate institute. We want included schools like other, where transgender person can get educated, and teachers should be sensitized for.
Do you feel that transgenders should be educated along with normal students, or do you feel that they should have special institutions for them?
Actually, I want transgender should be treated and educated in normal schools now, because we want inclusion. We are not downloaded by Google or YouTube, whatever. We are also creature of same God, which creates a common man. So that is the thing. So I also want a transgender person should be educated in normal school, but before starting these things, before the teachers should be sensitized what transgender person is and how to cure that transgender person from bullying, how to educate that transgender, and how to make a safer environment for transgender student in school, college and universities.
All right, that's a very interesting concept, and I feel it's very important, whosoever you are, it's very important that you be treated as a normal person and as a part of society. And I think that the endeavors that you've made, Nayyab, are quite commendable. Along with this basic education literary department, Punjab, you started to be a teacher and principal in the Transgender Special Institute this in 2017. You also started to be a radio host for Radio Awaz. How was that experience like?
It was very good experience when I was as RJ at that Radio Awaz. Actually, I was doing 2-hour show, night show, that was 10 to 12, and when first time I was on air, then people was very amazed, and some phone calls I received that a transgender person, you are talking, your accent is like a male, and you are introducing yourself, you are female, like this kind of calls I received. But for time the people used to listen me, and I was talking about what transgender community is, what the issues transgender community face. So people ask that and they ask me a question about transgender community, transgender culture, how they can contribute in transgender. Actually that was the change which came through radio.
You also informed, people became more educated about the community. They understood what the community stood for and what it meant to be a transgender.
Yeah, it's very fruitful means of communication, like radio. People listen, and you can change, you can alter the mind of people by telling them. If you listen one thing again and again, definitely it keeps some impact on your mind, and you can change yourself and you can change the mind of others.
Speaking of changing yourself, you became an entrepreneur way back in 2017. And I should say Pakistan's first transgender entrepreneur. You started from Okada. You began an employees food chain called Chachi Chai Paratha.
Yeah.
You also started the Pakistan's first transgender gift courier service company as well. How was that experience like?
When I was teaching in transgender school, so I realized there is a most issue that transgender community face, that is economical empowerment. They have an economical empowerment. So if we want to change the life of transgender community, we have to empower them. So there is no employer who want to employ a transgender person. So I think that we should start and business ideas like the transgender person. The majority of transgender person is they are older. they're not younger, like you may say in the age of 30, 35, 40, 45. So when they get older, they have no alternative opportunities, like except when they are younger, they dance, they beg, and even they prostitute in Pakistan. This is a reality, and this is cruel face of our community. So what they will do when they become older? So I think they can easily make a breakfast, like paratha and chai, tea and some kind of you may say
breakfast.
yeah, breakfast. So they can easily prepare and sell to people, and transgender community can do that. So this was basic idea from one side, and transgender person are usually transgender community in Pakistan came on the happiest occasions, like somewhere baby get born, and somewhere some person is going to marry, and they call transgender person for dancing there. So I take a point for that thought, and if you want, I launch a courier service. It was actually gift courier service, and if you want to if you want to deliver some gifts to your lovers, to your friends, to your families, like you can use transgender person, because transgender community is a symbol of happiness. In other terms, you can say. So this that was the thing which was behind these ideas, and so that's why I started.
All right, that's wonderful. Along with that, you started your political career in 2017. In 2017, you become the member of the Transgender Task Force Special Committee by the Federal Ombudsman.
Yeah.
And the same year, you also were a member of the PVEC Election Commission in Punjab. Tell us a little bit about these two experiences.
You can do a lot of things through education, through empowerment, through empowering community, but you can't create a greater change if you can't change the policies, if you don't part of any law. So that was the thing I want. There was at that time there was no law, there was no policy that exists in Pakistan for transgender community for the protection of their rights. So that's why I was the part of that committees, and
also part of the Punjab Transgender Foundation.
Actually I found Punjab Transgender Foundation.
All right.
So
you're also the president of that foundation.
Yeah, because I was a founder member and president of that. So basically through election, if I am feeling pain, so I can tell you how much I am feeling. There is no other body can tell you about that pain. So if I am feeling some issues, I can tell you better about my issues. And there is no common man, there is no cisgender person which can tell you better about my community's issue. So I realized that there should be a transgender person in politics, and politics is only one option that you can change the laws, you can make new laws.
True.
And you can protect the community. So that way I choose, and sadly there is no transgender person in our Pakistani parliament. And there should be the representation of transgender community in that parliament. So that is the basic thing, and that's why I'm trying to you.
All right, that's wonderful. So of course the different positions that you've held, whether it be the president of the Punjab Transgender Foundation, or the member of Transgender Task Force, or the member of PVEC Election Commission Punjab, that has definitely helped kind of not only formulate some kind of a policy for the transgenders in Pakistan, but also to create awareness about that community in Pakistan. As you talked about inclusion, and you said inclusion is very important, we need to feel part of the society in Pakistan. And I think endeavors such as these by yourself, and these initiatives, not even endeavors, I would say initiatives that you began, have really paved the way for a lot of good things for your community to happen. As far as your popularity is concerned, you have not only gained popularity in Pakistan but also abroad. You were nominated for the Young Humanitarian Award by Oxfam International.
Yeah.
You were the first Pakistani transgender filmed by the Japanese media NHK.
Yeah.
How important, in your point of view, is media for the dissemination of a point of view of or your thoughts to communities in Pakistan and in other countries?
Yeah, actually, it was very great pleasure for me to be documented on international platforms, and I don't think so. There should be anyone, any international media platform who didn't interviewed me. It created a great impact during my election when I announced that I'm going to election, and there was a Express Tribune. I think they got interviewed me first, and there are 72,000 I think results which you found on Google when you put my name on Google. So the role of media is very important because on people see, people watch, and people think, and people make their perception through media. And I have an issue with Pakistani media actually, that is they don't talk about transgender issues. I never ever see when you are doing programs on politics, you have a transgender politician. When you are doing a program on education, you have a transgender educationist. If you are talking about law reforms, you have a transgender lawyer in Pakistan.
Aren't you bringing that change, Nayyab?
Actually, yeah, that's true. But the thing is that they should invite transgender person in their programs, and they should talk about transgender issues, what the life of transgender person and what the life of transgender community in Pakistan is, how they feel issues with cisgender community, and how society should react with transgender community. So these kind of messages should be raised by media, and media can change the life of transgender community in actual terms, in terms of acceptance. If media
inclusion, a positive impact
yeah.
on the lives of the transgender
Yeah.
community, so that they can be accepted as part of the society in Pakistan. Now, speaking of politics, I was trying to understand a little bit of your political views, and your, of course, your inclusion in politics in Pakistan is that is also something that I'm very interested in. What came first? The drafting of the transgender policy, or your contesting for the national polls from NA 142 in Okada?
Yeah, I've contested first for transgender.
You're the first in the Muslim world, transgender world, that has contested polls in elections in a Muslim country.
Yeah, I'm the first one transgender, and it's honor for me for making a history in the history, not only in Pakistan but also in Muslim world. Actually, I want to breaking stereotypes. A transgender person also can contest election, and it's not a rocket science, and everybody can do. Vulnerable group also can contest election, and yeah, but it's much difficult in Pakistani context to elect.
And you also need to have a strong personality and that strength, that spirit to do something with your life and to bring a change, not only for yourself but also for the society. When did you start drafting the transgender policy?
Actually, first we need to finalize the law. Transgender rights protection law, because I was the part of transgender task force which was formed by federal ombudsman. So for the process of law, for reviewing the law, the bills, there were some bills which was presented by some government members, some senators in Senate and National Assembly. So they invited us to give our feedback, to give our point of views, what should be in that transgender rights protection after getting passed. So we have to first we have to go for implementation. So we have something. Number one is rules of law, and another thing is policy. So after that you can implement the law. So we started, because I was in Punjab, and on the third day of Eid, Chief Justice, former Chief Justice Saqib Nisar take so moto notice, and we was there in Lahore Registry branch for hearing. So actually he formed a committee. And he formed a committee in which transgender person was member, and I was there as a member of that CJP special committee on. So actually he directed all Punjab Social Protection Authority to draft a social protection policy for transgender community.
And also for their registration in the CNICs.
Yeah. So that was the initiative of actually former CJP.
All right.
So I gave my input, and I drafted a mega part of that policy, and I submit to Social Protection Authority, and they reviewed it, and they make better document for the Supreme Court. So it's also published on Supreme Court website. You can find it from their website, but unluckily there is no implementation of that policy at all.
But you're here to kind of make that change as well in the coming days and months. I hope you'll do that. You were also programs manager, drug addiction for all at the AM Welfare Society in Punjab in 2018. That's an honorary position, but nevertheless a very important position. When you meet drug addicts, how do you tell them to come out of their phase? How do you educate them to become a better person?
I put my example in front of them, that if being a transgender person, if I can survive myself and I can leave begging, I compare begging and drug using, like I compare these two things in front of them, and this kind of motivational speeches they change their life. And we in AM Welfare Society, we have a lot of clinical psychologists, which we have trained doctor there. So actually my work in AM Welfare Society is only that to create proposal, to write proposal, and to interact with donor, and the projects to implement in that organization. That is my role there.
That is very important, and I really appreciate you for this amongst all the other endeavors, Nayyab, that you're doing for the society. Group Development Pakistan, you became the project manager and executive assistant in 2018. How did that opportunity come to you?
Actually, when I moved to Islamabad, that is actually I want to have to do something for the basic root cause of transgender, the basic violence transgender children face in their childhood. So Group Development Pakistan is basically working on child rights and child protection mechanism, and they're only transgender person, they need child protection in their childhood. Actually, the first thing which transgender child face, the child abandoned from their home, where the transgender child needs social protection. The parents kicked out them, and they come in society. The society abused that trans child. So that's why I realized that there is a basic thing. If we want to change the life of transgender community, we have to focus on transgender child first. So in Islamabad, I have to join at least one solid voice, a solid institute which is working for children's rights. So on their platform, I can talk about transgender children's right, that there also child exist which are gender variant, their gender difference from their actual biological identities. So that's why I joined Group Development Pakistan. And
how has the experience been as far as education and educating the young and the not so young minds of Pakistan is concerned?
Actually, young minds of Pakistan can better understand. than older.
So you feel the younger generation is more
Yeah.
quicker to understand what you're trying to tell them, and it adapts itself accordingly.
Actually, they are custodian of tomorrow, and they are hope of tomorrow.
All right. Well, amongst all the other organizations that you've been part of is SAFAR. It's a transgender lead organization. Pakistan, you're an honorary member since 2018. You're the managing director. This is the post that you hold. What kind of a role do you feel that you have had in SAFAR?
Actually, SAFAR is transgender-led organization. So it's also run by transgender person. Their member are transgender person, and it's based in Islamabad. So it's working only for transgender rights. So I give them technical support, technical assistance where they need my help in writing, in technical drafting, in lobbying, advocating something. So that's I too, and I think this is only one organization in Islamabad which is transgender led, and it's very important to speak about themselves. If a transgender person never speak about themselves, they never ever get their rights. If a vulnerable group will never speak about themselves, the vulnerable group never ever get their rights. So this is the universal truth. So on this truth, on this motto we run, and we work for transgender community. So different some non-government organization and focus on different areas. So being a human rights defender, I need to work in all areas. So that's why I'm part of different organizations.
I mean, does it come easily to you to multitask?
Actually, I wake up early in the morning. And first thing that I do, I check my laptop.
All right.
And I do some work before my breakfast, and after that I come on my job in Group Development Pakistan 9 to 5, and after 5 I get 1 hour rest, and I do work for SAFAR, Organization for Transgender Things, and later on after 11 o'clock I do some, if I have worked for AM Welfare Society. So this is my, and I'm familiar to sleep late night.
All right. Tell us about the Forum for Dignity Initiatives.
Yeah, it was.
This is also an organization that you've been part of. You've been the vice president of this forum. It's an honorary position as well, but nevertheless an important one.
Yeah, I was a board member and vice president of that organization in last year, in the start of 2018, for 6 months. But you know, as I told you, I want to work in different sector of society, so that's why I was a part of that organization.
All right. There's one very important thing that you've been associated with, that is the Transgender Protection Act. That is an act that you began drafting way back in 2017, and that act was passed in 2018.
Yeah.
How important is that act to you?
It's very important, and it was precedence for all world, that there are only some countries, like 14 countries in world, where Transgender Rights Protection Acts exist, and Pakistan is one of that country. And India, in the Parliament of India, they present a bill about protection of transgender rights protection. Before, when we submitted via some parliamentarians, Senator Rubina Khalid in Parliament, so it didn't get passed yet in 2019. But luckily our bill get passed, and now it's become law. Laws are very important in a state. So also this is one and only law which is exist in Pakistan for transgender rights protection, and without this law we are nothing. I think judiciary gave us recognition when in 2009 Chief Justice Iftikhar Chaudhry he set a precedent, and he ordered that you Nadra have to register transgender person. So before 2009, we have no right of registration. We was no citizen of Pakistan even. So after 2009, we get started registered, and in 2018, after 9 years, we have a law. And actually, the important thing is for me the implementation of that law. In law, we address all dimensions of a society, all common rights which a common person needed. This is very important for transgender community. It should be provided. The stigma that is attached for transgender community and the discrimination of society which came in the result of stigma, that can be changed through implementation and strong implementation. So that's why we also provide technical assistance to Ministry of Human Rights for establishing a committee on transgender rights implementation, where transgender person can oversee, can overview where law is implemented. And unluckily, we have no rules of business till now, and 1 year has passed when this law was passed.
But definitely, Pakistan is one of the 14 countries in the world, as you said,
Yeah.
that has passed a law on transgender rights, and that is mainly thanks to you, Nayyab Ali. So kudos to you.
It's not only to me.
And
it's for
all the people who
yeah.
supported you in
Yeah.
that endeavor. But you started, this was something, a movement that you started for your community, and it is slowly and steadily reaping its benefits. The life of transgender community in any country, I mean, leave alone Pakistan, is not an easy task.
Yeah.
The implementation of a law such as the one that has now been passed, will it give more opportunities to the transgender community in Pakistan? And if yes, in which sectors? If no, how can society and people like yourself further improve on it?
The implementation of that law can provide transgender community a very much better opportunities. Like in education sector, we have a very good example of a very educated transgender which was lecturing in Khalid University, Aisha. We have a very good example who is lawyer Nisha. From Karachi. We have a very good example in UNDP, that is Alicia, and we have a lot of good example of transgender community which came in front of our society after passing this law. So if we get quota, if we get proper education, which laws says you have to provide education, you can't discriminate transgender community on the basis of gender identity. Before this law, there was no clause that you can't discriminate any person on the basis of their gender identity, because there are different biological sex and gender identities are different things. So there was not included. By passing this law, this is included that you can't discriminate on the basis of your gender identity. So in all fields like education, health, empowerment, protection houses, for holding a public houses. I am example in front of you that I contested election. So it was only due to that law, because that law was passed in May and I contested election in July. So that was the thing. So after this law, we are getting all opportunities like police in Pakistan. Police are protector of Pakistani citizens inside the boundaries of Pakistan. So they will listen you, they will protect you, and I was also training them. Lastly, for Punjab, I did training for Punjab police and draft standard operating procedures for ICT police on the request of IGP Islamabad. So it will be also get.
That was this year.
Yeah, it was this year, and it will also get notified in all provinces, because police need guidelines for transgender community, how to interact with, how to body search a transgender person. If he is not mentioned his preferred gender is not mentioned on their ID card. So how to address that transgender community? So that was the thing which came out after passing that law. So there are all, I think, citizen rights we can have except one, that is a reserved seat in parliament. So except this, we can get all the rights after this law will be implemented.
As far as human rights, because you're a human rights activist, you've also given technical assistance to the Ministry of Human Rights in the formulation of this National Implementation Committee on Transgender Law. How much do you feel have you been successful in it?
Transgender Implementation Committee has formulated and it has notified, and Minister Shiri Mazari, I think she is very supportive in this role. She was very supportive in this role. She also helped us to allocate separate wards in PIMS. So that was the thing basically. So we achieved this. It is notified, and hopefully the transgender community, luckily transgender community from all over the country are the part of that committee. Some are representative, and they will oversee how the law will be implemented, and definitely it will get some time. It will take some time. So after some time, it hopefully
such a lot of progress, Nayyab, has been made by you in such a small number of years, and all the policy that have been implemented, and all the acts that have been passed, and all the work that you've done, and all the awareness that you've brought up in different communities, in different organizations. That's very important, because Nayyab, everything begins with awareness. You need to make people understand, you need to educate them on what something is. Once they understand, then you need to make them aware, and you need to tell them that, listen, this is a part of the transgenders are part of your community, and they have certain rights, and every segment of the society needs to understand those rights, and they need to respect those rights as well. You are also a certified trainer for gender and minority inclusion. Inclusion is something that you talk a lot about in this interview as well. By the UNDP this year. How was that experience like?
It was very good. UNDP hired me for training, TOT, for trainings of trainers for this gender sensitization on gender variant issues. It was very good experience. When you talk, gender is a new subject. Whenever you read international guidelines, so I think before 10 years, there was no concept of gender. And they was thinking the gender issues are mental illness. And in IPAD 11, now the guidelines which are published by World Health Organization, now they realize that gender variant thing or gender dysphoria is not anymore mental illness, and it's natural thing, and you are on right if you are a gender variant person. So it was new subject, and people needs to aware about that thing. So what the difference between gender, and what the difference between sex, what is the difference between sexuality, what is the difference between gender identities, how to express, what is the difference between gender expression, how you express yourself, that is your right. You can be a woman in the male body, you can be a man in a female body, and that can be exist. And I want to quote a Quranic ayat in this, that in Quran Allah says that Allah create everyone how He wants. So that is the true. So this is the possibilities that different genders can be exist, the different sexualities can be exist. So that is these things people needs to be understand.
And you need to respect them.
Yeah, this is very important thing. This is the first. If you want to have respect, you have to get respect first. So that is the basic thing. So first thing is that which I talk to people, that gender exists. Gender is a spectrum, and gender can be other than man and woman. So you have to respect all gender identities.
Because those are part of your society, and you need to be told that they are part of society, and you need to tell them once you are aware to other people as well who are unaware, who are uneducated in that every part of society is part of your society, and it is all these parts of society that come together and make a strong society. And people like yourself, Nayyab Ali, are parts of those segments of societies who are working to make societies in Pakistan stronger, to make nations such as Pakistan stronger. What should we look forward from your end, finally, Nayyab, in the coming months and years? What do you have in mind to further educate, to further strengthen the minorities in Pakistan, especially the transgender community?
Yeah, actually, I want to change the world by ending discrimination, and not only in Pakistan, in South Asia as well, because we have a beautiful culture. That culture is a transgender culture that only exists in South Asia. There is no transgender culture called Hijra culture. There transgender person exists in exists in all the world, but the culture exists only in South Asia. So I want to promote that culture, and I want to see transgender person as a doctor, as an engineer, as a politician, and in coming years, inshallah, hopefully in before this comment end, I want to see at least one transgender person in parliament. I think government should government should select a transgender person, a trans woman on women reserve seat, and in coming days I want to see a transgender person in the parliament.
Thank you so very much to have given us the time to have educated myself, to have educated my viewers through this interview on what is the importance of not only the transgender community, but also to respect all the segments of the society, whether they be transgender or any other minority. It's very important, because when you respect, when you also give them that proper place for them to prosper as a member of that society, it is only then that society itself becomes stronger. Ladies and gentlemen, with that we come to an end of this very informative, educative episode of Sky's the Limit. We'll see you again next week, same time, same channel. Take care of yourselves and work on inclusion in your society. Allah Hafiz. And thank you so very much, Nayyab.